President Trump has said all along that he's giving very careful consideration to that issue, and that when he makes his decision, he'll make it, as he likes to say, with big heart. And I know that he will.
That was the Vice President Mike Pence, of course, speaking yesterday, responding to reports that President Trump is considering ending yet another Obama-era program, that's DACA. According to reports, the president may announce as early as today that he will pull the plug on the program. It's allowed nearly 800,000 undocumented immigrants brought to the U.S. as children to receive work permits and deferred deportation. Already hundreds of business leaders are speaking out. The CEOs of Apple, Amazon, Facebook, Google joined roughly 300 business leaders urging President Trump to keep the program in place. And of course, Houston has a major Hispanic population, and that's adding another complicated layer to the aftermath of Hurricane Harvey. Joining us now live from Houston from the George Brown Center, which has been serving as a massive shelter, NBC News correspondent Mariana Atencio. How's this affecting young, particularly and potentially undocumented immigrants down in Houston, Harvey?
It has had a huge impact. Just to give you an idea, there are more than 500,000 undocumented immigrants in Houston. It's actually the city with the third largest undocumented population in the country. So what we have seen in this shelter is that as many of the people are headed home, now is when you start to see undocumented immigrants sort of start to trickle in. I spoke to about half a dozen yesterday who told me that they took their time to come here because there is a lot of fear in the community that if they come to these shelters, they may be turned down or put in some sort of database, even though Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner has said they have absolutely nothing to worry about, that they won't get into any legal trouble if they show up here without any papers. Given the political climate, what you mentioned on DACA, SB4, also here in Texas, this fear is understandable. And I spoke to a woman by the name of Patricia Nunez, who is a citizen but was undocumented for many years. And this is what she said about that fear in the undocumented community. Let's listen. What do they tell you, the people in your community, about possibly seeking help in a shelter?
They don't really want to do that because they're afraid that if they ask you for documents and you don't have any, they're going to put you in a different group. And then afterwards, they can give you the help right now, but afterwards they're going to turn you into ICE. We heard by the mayor of Houston that not to be afraid because nobody's going to be asking you for documents. But our community is so afraid. They don't trust what people are telling them because they're going through a lot.
I spoke to the Red Cross here at the shelter, and they did tell me that they encourage people to show some form of ID when they come in, but that absolutely nobody is getting turned down, and there are no raids happening, at least in this shelter. Caddy, back to you.
Okay, Mariana, thank you very much. What Mariana's reporting there, Steve, is exactly what we've been hearing, that, of course, the residents down there, undocumented residents, already anxious in these times. Harvey is making them more so. But how do you think what's happening in Harvey could actually impact the debate over DACA? I mean, potentially, I guess, the White House may feel this is not the time to repeal DACA when you've got so many people who are hit by Harvey.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing kind of hanging over this. The White House has been down this road a couple times before and has so far held back from doing this. The other twist here is we know Donald Trump was elected as an immigration hardliner. Obviously, the wall, the talk about Mexicans, that was a major part of his campaign. However, when you poll this question, when you specify the issue of children, kids who were brought to this country when they were too young to make the decision for themselves, their parents brought them here, the idea of focusing on children, the polling does shift on this, and it shifts particularly among Republicans, among Trump backers. So at least when you poll the question of taking a hardline stance towards the children of undocumented immigrants, the polling doesn't show that hardline stance even resonating with Trump's base.
Yeah, and Joe, as we said, the deadline on this could be as early as today, so we could get something out of the White House, some clarification on what the president is thinking on this soon.
We'll see. And if it's like the past, chances are good he is going to take a stand that may even be unpopular, except with his most hardcore base. You look and see what he did the morning that Paul Manafort's home got raided. He tweeted about the transgender ban, something that wasn't popular with American people and wasn't even popular with his Joint Chiefs and people inside the Pentagon. Today, maybe he's understanding he's not going to get funding for the wall this year, so maybe he takes another very harsh anti-immigrant stand, and maybe he thinks it helps him with his base and gets him past the fact that he's going to fail in getting funding for that wall. We'll see, though. Still.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.